So we have a new book this week from the prophet Hosea, though it's very similar to the book of Amos that we saw last week. Again, Hosea is one of those quote-unquote minor prophets, minor in the sense that their book is much shorter than the major prophets of Ezekiel and Isaiah and Jeremiah. Those books are 40, 50, 60 chapters long. This is only, I believe, 15 chapters. The prophet Hosea comes from the northern kingdom, and he's preaching to the northern kingdom. So again, we're in the northern part of the nation of Israel. Hosea differs from Amos in that, if you remember from this week's readings, how he begins with a command from the Lord, a very strange command, a command to go and marry, as I would say, quote unquote, a lady of the night. Okay. So he goes and he marries her, and God is using this as a sign of Israel's infidelity to the Lord, that Israel has been unfaithful. And what makes this book so beautiful is this heavy marital covenant image that we don't see. We see it in other places in the Old Testament, and definitely in the New Testament, but not so much in the Old Testament. That God sees this covenant, and a covenant, again, is a contract between two people. You know, it's not a contract in the sense of goods and services, but a covenant is like a marriage covenant. It's an exchange of a person to another person in a very loving and intimate way. And that's how God sees Israel. And the expression of this covenant is in what? Is in their worship. That's where the covenant is expressed and manifest to them. In their worship, where Israel gives the best of what they have to the Lord, and the Lord offers His love and care and providence. And as we hear in our first reading, what happens is that Israel, as they grow more and more in wealth, and they grow more and more in fear of their enemies around them, fear in losing their stuff, fear in natural disasters. As that fear increases, what does Israel do? And what do? We turn to other things besides God. They turn to idols. They set up their idols because it's their way of trying to offer protection for themselves. And so this whole first reading is about God breaking down those comforts, breaking down those altars, breaking down those pillars. And as we see, we don't get it in this first reading, but in the very next verse, he tells us that he's going to break that dependency on their warriors and their fighters, all those things where out of almost fear and insecurity, they turn over to false idols. And so do we. And so how do we reorient ourselves? Through worship. Here is also where our marital covenant with God takes place. We hear it in the words. This is my body, which is given up for you. This is God offering His very self. What do we in return, when we hear those words, what's our expression? Yeah, this is my body for you, God. This is my whole self, my whole dependency. Everything that I do is absolutely dependent on you. And so worship, I think we struggle with this concept of worship in our faith, in our Catholic faith. Many people don't worship. They go to false idols, false dependencies. They don't need God. They don't need it. I say, and Hosea says, yes, we do. May God bless you.